With the sixth pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Daniel Jones, quarterback, Duke.
So they do love a quarterback, and it's the kid from Duke. Daniel Jones is coming to New York and
Shocking, to say the least. 5 decades I've watched football. That was a shocking, and I did predict on this show the Giants would take Daniel Jones. We played the audio. But me, like everybody else, thought it would come at number 17, and the Giants would draft a defensive stud at number 6. And by drafting Jones at number 6, by the time the Giants got to 17, outside of Sweat, there was nobody left to rush the quarterback. So he really screwed the chances of getting a big defensive player up, talking about Giant GM Dave Gettleman. Now, look, I like Steve Serby, terrific writer here many years, but he gets too hysterical for me. He just does. Barkley, Darnold, the Giant. Paul Schwartz is the best by a mile. Covers the Giants on a daily basis for the New York Post. His column is out, A Giant Gamble. Shocked with Jones at number 6. And while he says what I just said, at least comes out and says, but it's still a matter of time. What if Jones turns out to be Tom Brady? You know, Serby already has the guy being, Tim Couch. Let's see what happens. More rational approach. Here he is, the brilliant Giant guy, and also the author of the best book ever written, You're Wrong and You're Ugly, our friend Paul Schwartz. Good morning, Paul.
Gentlemen, it usually takes, 3 years to analyze a draft? The heck with that. Let's do it in 3 minutes, right? 3 minutes after the draft, the boos were cascading. We have a photographer at the New York Post who was driving in, and he heard some guy driving around by the Giants facility screaming obscenities, towards the Giants general manager. Look, you're right. We don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be a good quarterback, an average quarterback, a very good quarterback, but my take on this is, could Dave Gettleman have manipulated this draft board a little better? Because when you shock a draft and take a guy there, that's fine, and you'll be proven right or wrong. But could you have done something to maybe get Daniel Jones a little later and also get, obtained a better player up there? That's the big question.
Well, no, it's not a question. The answer is yes. Nobody else wanted this guy. The Redskins at number 15 were going to take Haskins, not Jones. So the odds of him falling to 17 were 100%. So go out there and grab Josh Allen, a guy that can rush the quarterback, and you're going to get Jones. I promise you, Paul Schwartz, you're going to get Jones at number 17. So I wanted the heir apparent to Eli Manning. I even like Jones. But to answer your question, the way he did it was so silly that he ruined the next 2 picks.
What Gettleman said is, you never know, and I was not willing to risk it. Now, there's 2 ways to look at it. Some people say, if you have a conviction on a guy, especially a quarterback, why wait? And there was some sentiment before the draft when people were saying, well, the Giants are going to wait till 7, and that's what I was saying. I was saying, look, the Giants are not taking a quarterback at 6 because there's no one good enough at 6 to take, so you wait, you get him at 17, maybe have to trade up 1 spot or 2 at 17, you go defense, then go quarterback. There is a school of thought that says if you love the guy, you don't wait, you take him because you can't miss him. The big question is, should they love Daniel Jones? Most people did not. I've had people who said to me, Daniel Jones is going to be an excellent quarterback, and I've had people say to me, he's a backup quarterback. There's not a lot of, and there's a lot in between, obviously, a lot in between. But arm strength, look, people saying he feels like Eli Manning. He's the same size. He was coached by the same guy, David Cutcliffe. But no one has compared him to Eli Manning as far as coming out of college. You guys remember this. In 2004, Eli was considered an elite-level quarterback, and this guy in most circles is considered less than that.
By the way, he's the highest Duke draft pick since 1987, I believe, this guy, Daniel Jones. But look, it's like the Giants, Paul Schwartz, have completely given up already on this upcoming season. If I'm not mistaken, he's the Gettleman and Sherman, like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. And Steve Serby's outrage and fury is reflective, I think, from the people I've talked to, of what most fans are thinking. They're pissed off.
Oh, there's no question, Bernie. This is, look, We've seen, remember Donovan McNabb, right? When he was drafted by Philadelphia, boos, cascaded boos. Who is this guy? Virtually every Jet pick in the last 30 years, 40 years, right? Whoever it is, he's the wrong guy. Like I said, it's a quarterback. A lot of people wanted a quarterback. A lot of people wanted Eli Manning gone before this. It is, look, here's what you can definitively say about this. This is Dave Gettleman's legacy right now. It is his legacy, and whenever Daniel Jones plays, the legacy is going to be put on hold, right? Put on pause because Eli Manning is the starter, and it's interesting that Dave Gettleman spoke to Eli Manning either before or right after this pick. It's your job. You're still the starter. Let's go, kid, that kind of thing. The problem is Eli Manning's not a kid. He's 38 years old.
Right.
And look, at some point Daniel Jones is going to get the ball, whether it's after 10 games or after 16 games, or if Eli Manning plays great and the Giants do better than expected, maybe they re-sign the guy. I mean, all bets are off here, but this is Dave Gettleman's legacy. If Daniel Jones becomes a really good quarterback, it's a good move. If he doesn't, very bad move.
Pat Shurmur is on record saying Eli's job is to keep Daniel Jones off the field. So if Eli has a big year, they will bring him back at 39, give him another contract, and let Daniel Jones kind of season like a fine steak. I mean, look, now we go to a Duke quarterback for the post-Eli Manning era. Giant fans, remember, we went to a Duke quarterback for the post-Phil Simms era. His name was Dave Brown. How much of a disaster was that? And unfortunately for this poor kid, they're making comparisons today. Post-Phil Simms, Dave Brown, Duke quarterback. Post-Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, Duke quarterback.
Jones, Brown, right? It's all Duke. It's big, tall. This is fascinating on a lot of levels, right? And by bringing up the name. Dave Brown, you guys now go into Giants fan purgatory forever because they do not want to hear that guy's name. My first year covering the Giants was way back in 1994, so I missed the Phil Simms era, and my first quarterback that I covered was Dave Brown.
And by the way, it started with Brown, but don't forget, it's kind of like before Phil Simms, you had guys named Joe Pisarcik, Jerry Goldstein, Randy Dean, then you got Bruner and Simms. It wasn't just Dave Brown that era. It was guys like Kent Graham, Danny Cannell, before the Giants traded for Kerry Collins. So they have these stretches, Paul, where they bring in 3 or 4 quarterbacks that really can't play until somebody else comes along.
Well, it's either you have one or you don't. I mean, there's a very easy line of demarcation in the NFL. Do you have a quarterback or do you not have a quarterback? The Giants for 16 years had a quarterback. And they still have him. He's still there. Daniel Jones will be the quarterback. Is it going to be for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years? I mean, I remember Dave Brown started the first 3 games in 1994. They won them all, and then they had the bye week. And there, you would not imagine, and I don't know if you can remember, how much unmitigated praise there was for Dave Brown and the Giants. They were 3-0 in the post-Phil Simms era. And by the way, then they lost their last 7 games. There was the unmitigated great things being written about the Giants, and Dave Brown were replaced by other things.
Paul Schwartz from the New York Post and the Bernie and Sitcho on WABC. Now, the Giants still need major help on pass rushing. They picked this guy at 17, Dexter Lawrence, over Montez Sweat, whatever the hell his name is, who would have been a better pick, we think. Anyway, Lawrence only has 10 sacks in 38 games at Clemson. I mean, how the hell does he help?
Well, he helps in a lot of ways, but you're right, not as a guy who's going to get the quarterback. Now, Dave Gettleman said you have to be careful with stats because, he did have a lot of quarterback pressures last year at Clemson. He actually led that great Clemson defense in quarterback pressures. They had so many great players up on defense that he put some pressure on, and those other great players finished off the quarterback. Look, when you bypass a guy like Josh Allen at number 6, and then you have to, at 17, you're not getting an elite pass rusher. That's all there is to it. Those guys come off the board very fast, and then you have to backtrack, and you're not going to get them. I think they helped their defense with Lawrence, and then the cornerback they picked up, Baker.
That was a terrible trade. 3 picks to Seattle for that guy who got worse last year. That was a terrible trade. Terrible.
Look, they badly needed a cornerback. Look, here's what happens when you put your draft board together. you can say whatever you want. I get that. The Giants can say, we had Daniel Jones rated up, with Josh Allen at number 6. They can say that, and I'm sure it's true unless they're lying, which they aren't. If they say this cornerback, DeAndre Baker, was the best cover cornerback in the draft. Now, this was not a good draft for cornerbacks because he was the first one to go. Cornerbacks are such a valued commodity, and he went first, and the Giants had to trade up to 30 to get him. Now, the question is, do we trust your draft board, and do we trust the guys making these decisions on their draft board? It's easy to pick the guys on the board.
Right.
It's harder to put the board together, and look, the jury is out on whether the Giants and this group puts a good board together.
Well, that's the best point yet, and that's what you said this morning, is that you got to wait and see. I mean, like Bernie just said, disaster. On paper, this draft looks awful. It does. It looks awful. But we'll see what happens in a couple of years, and maybe Dave Gettleman will get the last laugh. That's why I read your columns, Paul Schwartz. You make sense. You're great. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, take care, Paul Schwartz. We'll take a short break. More sports to come. Still, we got the great Arthur Aidala live in studio. Avengers is coming out this weekend. Neil Rosen live in studio. And more on President Trump. He'll be on with Mark Levin later on tonight. Stick around. More of Bernie and Sid right after this.
In the dark.